Welcome back for part 2 of McMahon's Last Stand. I'm AmKay and you're watching Purple Sky 11. If you're new to the channel, please be aware this video is part 2 of a series, and each episode builds on information discussed in previous videos. A link to all videos in the series so far can be found in the description box below. I just want to take a minute to let you know I am not a legal expert or an expert of anything really. I'm just a girl who loves to research stuff, and I also happen to be a huge wrestling fan. Also keep in mind that all of this, these accusations, the articles, the lawsuit, at this time these are only allegations pending the outcome of litigation. So please don't take anything I say seriously, and as always, do your own research. Also, please be advised that the following content will contain descriptions of sexual assault. This content may be disturbing to some people. Watch with caution. Due to the content, this video will probably not be eligible for monetization. If you'd like to support the channel, you can send $1 my way at the Cash App link in the description box below. So next up, we have the parties that are named in this lawsuit. And the item numbers continue with number 34. First up, we have Plaintiff Janelle Grant, a Connecticut citizen and former employee of WWE, having worked there from June 2019 through March 2022. Up next, we have the defendants. Number 35, Vincent K. McMahon, a Connecticut citizen, co-founded WWE in 1980 and served on the board of directors of WWE from 1980 to September 2023. He is currently the executive chairman of the board for TKO Group Holdings, LLC. Number 36, Defendant World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc., now known as World Wrestling Entertainment, LLC, hereafter known as WWE, which is a Delaware limited liability company, whose sole managing member is TKO Group Holdings, Inc., a Delaware corporation, hereafter known as TKO. Until on or about September 12, 2023, WWE was a Delaware corporation with headquarters in Connecticut. On September 12, 2023, a transaction completed between Endeavor Group Holdings and World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc. resulted in a merger between the WWE and Ultimate Fighting Championship promotions, hereafter known as UFC, and the formation of their new parent company, TKO. And number 37, Defendant John Laurinaitis, an Arizona citizen, is the former head of talent relations and general manager at WWE, who on information and belief was officially dismissed by WWE in August 2022 amid allegations of misconduct by women in WWE. So those are the named parties in this lawsuit. And next up, we have non-party officers / employees of WWE. Non-party being the people or organization that are not directly involved in the lawsuit, but who may still be liable in some way. And the non-parties that are involved in this lawsuit are number 38, at all times relevant, WWE Corporate Officer Number 2 was a high-ranking employee at WWE who made hiring decisions, conducted prospective employee interviews, and maintained significant control over personnel decisions. WWE Corporate Officer Number 2 worked in these capacities during Ms. Grant's employment with WWE. This individual is referred to herein as WWE Corporate Officer Number 2. Number 39, at all times relevant, WWE Corporate Officer Number 1 was a high-ranking employee and board member at WWE during Ms. Grant's employment with WWE. WWE Corporate Officer Number 1 continued to work in high-ranking positions in connection with the September 12, 2023 merger. This individual is referred to herein as WWE Corporate Officer Number 1. Number 40, at all times relevant, WWE Corporate Officer Number 3 was a high-ranking employee and or board member during Ms. Grant's employment with WWE. This individual is referred to herein as WWE Corporate Officer Number 3. At all times relevant, number 41 here, at all times relevant, WWE Corporate Officer Number 4 was a high-ranking employee at WWE who worked with legal affairs at the company. WWE Corporate Officer Number 4 held that position from the time of Ms. Grant's initial employment with WWE until sometime in 2020. This individual is referred to herein as WWE Corporate Officer Number 4. Number 42. WWE Superstar is a professional wrestling superstar who performs at WWE-branded wrestling events. During the time of Ms. Grant's employment, McMahon signed WWE Superstar to a new booking contract with WWE. This individual is referred to herein as WWE Superstar. Ooh. And I have a feeling this is Brock Lesnar. Allegedly. But who do you think WWE corporate officers number 1, 2, 3, and 4 might be? Any guesses? Leave them in the comments below. I have some guesses. I'd be willing to bet money on who I think one of them is. The next section lists the jurisdiction and venue, which just means jurisdiction meaning the limits or territory where authority may be applied, and venue being the location chosen to hear the case. So number 43, this court has jurisdiction over this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. subsection 1331. That code of law basically states that even when there's federal laws in question, that district courts shall have original jurisdiction of civil actions, and that's what this is. This is a civil action. And they're saying that because this is a civil lawsuit, that under this law, the district court has jurisdiction. Because Ms. Grant's claims under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which is 18 U.S.C. subsections 1591 and 1595, and then it has in parentheses and in quotations here, TVPA, which stands for Trafficking Victims Protection Act. 18 U.S. Code subsection 1591 deals with trafficking of children, or trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, which is a federal crime. And 18 U.S.C. 1595 states that an individual who is a victim of trafficking can bring a civil action against the perpetrator. So this law states that even though trafficking is a federal crime, because of crossing state and or foreign borders, a civil action can still be brought against the perpetrator in an appropriate district court. And this goes on to say that her cause of action for declaratory relief under the Speak Out Act, which is 42 U.S.C. subsection 19401 et sec. And just as it states in the lawsuit, Title 42 U.S.C. Chapter 164 is the Speak Out Act, which focuses on sexual harassment in the workplace, and specifically the subsection 19401, which lists the congressional findings applied to that code of law. And et sec is an abbreviation of the Latin phrase et sequitur, which means all of the following, and denotes a list that continues from the item cited prior to the et sec abbreviation, meaning they're citing this full list of findings. And I will put links to all of this in the description box. And it says that all of this raises a federal question, which means this would be bigger than just the state of Connecticut, meaning that it crossed state lines. Number 44, this court also has supplemental jurisdiction over Ms. Grant's state law claims, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. subsection 1367. Because the claims are so related to the TVPA claims, which is the Trafficking Victims Protection Act claims, as to form part of the same case or controversy. And that particular law deals with supplemental jurisdiction. And to the best of my understanding, this law states that although there could be federal criminal charges brought in this case at some point, for now, in dealing with the civil action, the District Court of Connecticut shall have supplemental jurisdiction for all other claims within the original jurisdiction, which is Connecticut. And the lawsuit is citing this law, claiming that that grants Connecticut supplemental jurisdiction. And number 45, venue is proper in this district, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. subsection 1391b2, as a substantial part of the events or omissions giving rise to the claims occurred in the District of Connecticut. And this seems to be the general rule of law for selecting the proper legal venue. And the lawsuit specifically cited Section B2, which states that a civil action may be brought in the district where a substantial part of the events giving rise to the claim occurred, which is exactly what the lawsuit claims here, and in this instance, that would be the state of Connecticut. So this section of the lawsuit establishes Connecticut as the jurisdiction and venue in which this case will be heard. So now we're getting into the factual allegations. So this is going to be, like, in part 1, we went through the introduction. That was just the basic outline of what her overall claims are. Now we're getting into the detail. This is going to give detail to all of the points that were discussed in part 1. And we're starting with number 1, Ms. Grant's history with McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE. Section A, Ms. Grant's introduction to McMahon turns into a 2-hour meeting between a potential entry-level employee and a billionaire CEO. And then the numbering continues. In case you're wondering why the numbers continue this way, it's easier to locate specific lines of the document. For instance, page 9, section 46, and everyone knows what page to flip to and precisely where to look. I'm going to keep reading the numbers so that it's easier for you to follow along with as I'm reading. Number 46. Prior to having any involvement with WWE, Ms. Grant was dealing with profound grief, following the loss of her parents, whom she cared for full-time as their sole caretaker. Number 47. After her family passed away, Ms. Grant dedicated herself to finding gainful employment. During this time, Ms. Grant often ran into McMahon's 2 personal assistants in her building. And then in parentheses it says, one of whom was a former grade school classmate of Ms. Grant. And I just want to say already what I'm thinking is this is already a different story than what it was in the introduction. In the introduction, it said that her building manager, isn't that what it said? That the building manager offered to mention her name to McMahon and said that she would do great things if given a chance. So now, was that building manager one of McMahon's personal assistants? And if that's the case, or even if it's not the case, how many times has this building manager spoke to McMahon about people needing employment, people who would do certain things if given a chance? Number 48. Ms. Grant's closest friend in the building was the resident manager. Okay, so now here comes the resident manager. And this says that individual is referred to herein as resident manager. It says that they were similar in personality. Ms. Grant and resident manager bonded over stories of adversity as they coordinated community initiatives in the building together. Resident manager was aware of Ms. Grant's efforts to obtain employment. Okay. Apparently, according to this, the building manager is Ms. Grant's closest friend in the building. From the wording in the introduction, I assumed these two had a random encounter where Ms. Grant expressed her frustrations and the building manager offered to help. Now, knowing that Ms. Grant was close with the building manager and that she knew one of McMahon's personal assistants from grade school, I'm wondering if Ms. Grant was hoping one of them would introduce her. Number 49. In March 2019, Ms. Grant remained unsuccessful in securing long-term employment. Resident manager offered to help Ms. Grant, suggesting she could reach out to defendant McMahon in case he could assist, and texted him to see if he would be willing to speak with Ms. Grant to provide advice about employment. Okay. Number 50. McMahon responded enthusiastically and proposed times to meet with Ms. Grant to discuss employment. Resident manager passed along Ms. Grant's resume to McMahon ahead of the prospective meeting. Number 51. Ahead of the meeting, resident manager advised Ms. Grant to be energetic, as McMahon is, quote, big on energy, and to talk to McMahon no differently than she talks to resident manager. Number 52. On or about March 23, 2019, Ms. Grant arrived for the meeting in McMahon's condo with additional printed copies of her resume, a black notepad, and, quote, thank you cookies. So she had a meeting at his condo, not at the office, not at WWE headquarters, in his condo. In the introduction, it said that McMahon lived in the penthouse in Ms. Grant's building. That would be different than the condo, right? She didn't just take the elevator up to the penthouse. Did she go to a condo? So this was a separate location from the building they both lived in? These are questions I'd like to know the answer to. And she took him cookies, which is nice. I don't think that I've ever taken cookies to somebody that I was interviewing with for a job. But then again, I've never had to sit down with anybody that I really wanted to impress. Number 53. Sitting at his dining table, McMahon looked at Ms. Grant's resume and complimented both her communication skills and her, quote, common sense before discussing little but their personal lives. Well, okay, my first red flag here would be that I'm going to his condo and sitting at his dining room table to have an interview instead of in any sort of official corporate setting. Was any food consumed while they sat at this dining table, aside from maybe the thank you cookies that she brought? Were they just sitting at the table, or did they have dinner during this discussion about their personal lives? Inquiring minds want to know. So this says, for example, Ms. Grant told McMahon about the hardship that led to resident manager's offer to help and described losing her parents, her family's bankruptcy, and other trauma that led her to seek financial independence to ensure she would never experience losing her home again. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. We're going to move on. Number 54. Then McMahon shared stories about his upbringing, his traumatic childhood, growing up in poverty, and current family dynamics, including his separation from Linda McMahon, described as his ex and long gone. He added his marital status is an arrangement on paper for business purposes and that he lives a quiet, isolated existence outside of the WWE. Well, I have no doubt that his marital status is an arrangement on paper for business status. I would believe that. It's quite possible that Vince and Linda haven't been together for a long time. I wouldn't know. What I do notice, just going by what I'm reading here, is that it was Ms. Grant who initiated this conversation about their personal lives when she opened up about her financial hardships and the loss of her parents, and McMahon reciprocated by opening up to her. And as for this part about Vince living an isolated existence outside the WWE doesn't make sense to me because he always seems to be involved in what's going on with the WWE in one way or another. Even when he's gone, he's never really gone. Number 55. At the end of the meeting, McMahon told Ms. Grant that he didn't just want to give her a job, but, quote, give her a life, end quote, and that he would find a place for her at WWE. Number 56. Stunned, Ms. Grant said that she didn't know how to thank him for, quote, possibly just changing my life, end quote. And McMahon responded that one simple thank you is enough, and that he'd accept a hug. Oof. And they stood and embraced. Oh my goodness. Number 57. McMahon then told Ms. Grant that he'd get the ball rolling on next steps, but it was a busy time of year as WWE prepared for WrestleMania, explaining that it was WWE's Super Bowl. He then invited Ms. Grant to attend as his guest along with resident manager, and added that he would personally select their seats to have the best possible experience. I have to say that would be freaking awesome. I would love that. Number 58. McMahon advised her that his office would reach out to her to set up a meeting with a trusted official at WWE headquarters. And that trusted official was WWE Corporate Officer number 2. Any guesses on who number 2 is? Leave it in the comments. This goes on to state that after asking if her cell was the best number to reach her, McMahon shared his personal phone number with Ms. Grant, walked her to his door, and again hugged her while whispering, "So good." Oh my God, no, no, run away, run away, run away now. Get out while you still can. Oh my God, they had personal conversation, maybe had some dinner, I don't know, I'm adding that part in, exchanged phone numbers, and he walked her to the door with a creepy hug. If not for the resume part of the story, I'd say this sounds like a date. But I'm gonna stop right here. If I keep the videos shorter, I can get them uploaded faster. But you can see the next section continues with Ms. Grant's history with McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE in subsection B, which describes that McMahon arranges for Ms. Grant to be hired by WWE while beginning to groom her for sexual exploitation. So stay tuned for part 3. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that bell so you are notified when the next video drops. Due to the content, this video will probably not be eligible for monetization. If you'd like to support the channel, you can send $1 my way at the Cash App link in the description box below. This is AmKay at Purple Sky 11. As always, thank you for your time and listening to what I have to say, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye!